Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. What day is it? It's Hump Day, Hump Day. Yeah. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. I'm in a good mood today. Things are wonderful. Hey, we all woke up this morning, so it's got to be a good day. I hope it finds you well wherever you may be. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And the reason why it's allamericangold.com, in case you want to know, Patriot Trading Group, some bot bought it during the 90s tech bubble and now want, I don't even know, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 for it. So All American Gold was open, so we took that. But this is the Patriot Radio News Hour. Listen, you got to go out to the website every day because we've got so many articles, videos that we don't talk about here on the air. Today is no different. E.B. Tucker, Mark Faber, just to name a few today, talking about where we're headed, what's coming up next. So make sure you do that. I'm joined this morning, like I am most mornings now, with my partner up in Colorado, the guy running the mothership up there, Jason Walker. And I know Jason was scrambling around this morning trying to get everything done. Jason, you settling in? How's it going up there?
Yeah, I think I'm on the other end of the air spectrum. I'm more of the I'm waiting for someone to give me my participation trophy right now. I'm here. Reward me. I made it.
I made it. I came. I showed up. Yes, Jason is like and not to poke fun at the fires that we've had, especially like the last few years. It seems like the entire West has burnt down. But Jason, I get the feeling he feels like some of these firefighters trying to fight these fires, and there's just not enough of him to put them all out. But he's hanging in there. You're doing a great job.
I guess part of the way I would observe it, Joe, is there's all these opportunities around me, and there's only so many of them you grab at once. You know what I mean? There's I think people don't understand how many opportunities are actually around you every day, like this show offering you wealth insurance every day. Sometimes you just can only grab, such a, you go into the vault. Let's say you're in an Indiana Jones movie and you get into the vault with all the gold. You can only physically carry out so much before the chamber, collapses, right?
Right before the rock comes crashing down.
That's how I feel. I feel like there's only so many of these opportunities I can grab, and I feel like there's always more left on the table, Joe.
Yeah, I understand that, and that is well spoken, well said. A lot of opportunities out there if you're smart enough to take advantage of them all. Just a couple of quick updates. Jason, you have the rest of your rounds now.
Yes.
Right, and Jason will start calling you for those. We have the utility or junk silver, however you want to refer to it. That'll be landing in Colorado sometime Friday after. Don't freak out. Oh, you said Friday, and Jason hasn't called me yet. Fridays are busy days, so most likely, and I don't want to speak for you, Jason, but most likely you'll probably reach out to these people on Monday to set appointments.
Yep.
As well. And then I know you had one person waiting on 2021 Silver Eagles. Those will be there Friday as well. Arizona, we got a little different situation. We got more details from the Bullion Bank. The UPS facility here in Goodyear is apparently where our Bullion Bank on this side of the country is in San Diego. All of the dealers here in Arizona, the product arrives at that distribution point before getting to us. Apparently there was a theft totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars. And UPS is right now blocking ship. They don't want any more shipments from the Bullion Bank coming until they catch the person who's taking it all. So we're going to be creative in getting it here. I only have a couple of customers that needed some Silver Eagles. We'll have them here at some point within the next 10 days. So just be patient. But that's what's happening there. You know, these things happen. They're beyond our control. We are noticing, Jason, though, our gold and our silver shipments slowing again.
Yep.
Slowing again. And we've seen this play out multiple times here during the coronavirus. And things are just taking a little bit longer than they should. So just be patient. As you know, we've been doing this a long, long time, 25 years. Two things I promise you. Number one, you're going to get your product. Number two, it's going to be at the price we promised you, no matter what they do. Gold could go up $100 tomorrow. Silver could go up $10 tomorrow. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't affect the thing. And I know that everybody wants to get it as quickly as possible. We want to do the same. But some of these things it is what it is. You know, this is kind of, like everything else out there. There's no toilet paper, or you only can buy, you only can buy one pack at a time and all these things. It's everywhere. It's in every market all over the place. So just bear with us, and we'll get it all done for you. 800-951-0592. When we get back, we had some economic data out. We had New York manufacturing data out. This one not as nice, if you want to call yesterday's CPI data nice. Inflation running very hot there. One of my favorite, matter of fact, my favorite guy, the guy I think that is the smartest guy in the room, Jeff Gundlach, warning about what the history books are going to say about this transitory inflation. Patriot Radio News Hour. Don't touch that dial. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe Jaquin, Jason Walker. And again, we had a lot of data out today. We've got it. Oil, by the way, crude oil, gasoline. $3.15 is cheap here. That's now cheap gas here. And I told you, remember, I was in Reno this weekend. It's $1 an hour more there in Nevada than it is here. And
$1 a gallon. $1 a gallon, Joe.
Yeah, what did I say?
$1 an hour.
$1 an hour, $1 a gallon.
$1 an hour sounds a lot more expensive to me.
I don't know. You can pump a lot of gas in an hour. So, by the way, we had oil inventory reports out today. They've been really, give the media credit. They've kept New Orleans out of the news, and Louisiana out of the news. We had more storms again, a bit more rain again. Another little tropical storm hit Texas and Louisiana. These refineries are not up and running. And we had massive drawdowns in everything from not just crude oil, gasoline, diesel, all of those things. And they're saying that this winter is supposed to be one of the coldest winters we've had in a long time. Which it means, and not so much in the West, but in the East, heating oil is used to heat the homes in the East. So get ready for much higher, I hate to say it, higher oil prices today. Oil's up almost 4% today, $73 a barrel because of the fact stocks right now at the lowest levels in several years. I got a bad feeling that maybe by next week we may see the lowest levels that we've seen going back to, what was that? It was 08 or 09 when we had that. Remember when oil spiked for that 1 month above $100 a barrel?
Yep.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. But if these refiners don't get up and running soon, we will be. I know Bank of America is already saying they expect $100 oil this winter. Goldman Sachs made that call already earlier this year. Let's hope they're wrong, but right now things are looking not as favorable for all of the less inflation people camp. We had the New York Manufacturing Index today. And that's just the New York region for manufacturing. It's a survey. I don't put huge amounts of stock in this stuff, but Wall Street trades on the news. It was up, so that's good. A higher number means better. But the New York Fed numbers have been, they're Jason, every month it's up and down, up and down, up and down. So it's a little difficult. But the one thing that stood out in the report, prices paid and prices received at all-time record highs in the New York Fed survey index, which means the manufacturer said, hey, I've never paid so much. And really what they mean is when they say that prices increased faster than they ever had. And then, oh, by the way, I raised prices faster than I ever had. Which got gold down today. Gold's down $10 today because of that. Gold was actually up. That number came out, and again, we kind of explained that yesterday. High inflation news is going to drive gold down. We'll say lower inflation news will drive it up. It really doesn't matter. It's just a semantics game. Everybody's waiting on what is the Federal Reserve going to do? Are they going to fight inflation or are they not? And they've already said that they're not going to do it. And Jeffrey Gundlach, remember, he came out, what was it, Jason, a week ago?
Yeah, I think so.
So something like that, and said, listen, let's cut through the crap here. I don't care what narrative they want to use. Here's the realities. China's coming. They're going to overtake us. And oh, by the way, I guarantee it, they want their seat at the table. And we are not running our country. We are not running our economic policy like we want to be the reserve currency. Period. He reiterated this on his webcast last night. He said all the economic growth we are seeing is not really economic growth. It's just spending. And all of us now, and again, so, Tuesday night I bowl. I bowl with, of the four of us that bowl on our team, three of us are business owners. And that's all the other two guys wanted to talk about. How expensive everything is. And it just doesn't stop. And this is what happens when you have economic growth that's nothing more than spending. Think about all the handouts. Think about all the unemployment benefits. Think about, hey, we didn't have to pay student loans. You didn't have to pay your rent. Here's a check. Here's another check. Here's a check plus an extra $300. Here's just a check because, well, you live here. Oh, wait, you got kids? Here's another check. Consumption is not a real economy. An economy is about production. When you buy goods produced somewhere else, i.e. Asia, and you do it with stimulus money, it shows up as GDP. Right? It acts like things are good, right, Jason?
Yeah, it's fake.
And really, when you think about it, where does that money go? It's going to Asia. It's not staying here. There's all these communities out there that do buy local. And we've seen all of these promotions. Matter of fact, here at 1360, we support that more than any other radio station anywhere, local business. And there's a reason why. Because the cities and the towns that you live in, that tax money will actually stay there. But when you're out there and you're on Amazon or you're going to the Kroger, you're going to the Walmart, that money leaves. The problem is that money, at least it used to stay in the United States. Now the problem is most of the stuff that Kroger or Walmart or Amazon or anybody else buys is actually purchased in other countries, from other countries. So the money doesn't even stay here in the United States.
And Joe, for a while we had kind of a drug high where we gave our manufacturing over to Asia and they were produced over there, and we got these super cheap items. And that doesn't last forever. And I think what we're seeing is all the cheap Chinese goods that's coming to an end.
Man, I will tell everybody, Jason and I don't talk about the show. We don't rehearse it. We don't go and say, hey, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z on this show. But it's so funny that you brought that up, because there was an article out on Bloomberg talking about inflation and talking about online inflation, and that the internet used to be the place where inflation fell, right? Because it got competitive. And, Amazon's the prime example. Hey, I'm going to sell it less than what the stores are selling it for. Well, how can you do that? Well, we don't have any stores, right?
Yep.
We don't have all the overhead. We didn't have all the debt. For the first time since online shopping started to gain traction in the United States, prices are rising online. As a matter of fact, they said it's been rising for the last 15 months in a row.
Yep.
Now, how's that transitory? 15 months in a row? And they're saying that inflation is hitting all the categories. Categories that historically prices were always declining are now going the other way. They talked about pet products, non-prescription drugs, apparel, furniture. How about floral arrangements? Yeah, apparently going up there. Apparel, online historical average was falling about 1% a year online. Up 15% year over year in August of 2021.
Yeah,
non-prescription.
Joe, it's a habitual symptom of a larger problem. I mean, when it lasts that long, it's like you got heartburn, and it just gets a little worse over the course of a year, and you're doing nothing about it because there's something going on, and you're just not getting the problem checked. And right now, these problems are not being fixed; they're getting worse.
Yeah, and it's all over. From personal care products to grocery, home improvement, furniture and bedding, medical. All of these things where online was the leader in prices falling has now reversed. And it's kind of interesting because as Jeff Gundlach is trying to tell everybody, we've got a fake economy. The second the spending stops, we're going to have massive problems. He said the Fed decided to go big early. And when you think about what they've done, think about their balance sheet in March of 2020. Well, that's not that long ago, 18 months ago, was under $4 trillion, about $3.8 trillion. It's now almost $9 trillion. So you're like, wow, whoa. That's $5 trillion in 18 months. Didn't you think about the federal government? I mean, the last year under Donald Trump, they said the budget deficit was $3.3 trillion. It was actually $4 trillion and change. The Biden administration just said, hey, the fiscal year, this is the end of fiscal year 2021 for the government, by the way. They said the debt stands at $2.7 trillion this year. Everyone, hey, that's an improvement. Not really. Because the one thing the Trump administration did And when they had that really high deficit number last year, they put the Treasury's checkbook at $1.8 trillion. Janet Yellen, when she took over, instead of giving the money back, she said, we'll just spend it.
Spend it, yep.
So they hid another, because they brought it all the way down to $500 billion. That was the number. Now it's almost zero, right? We run out of money come October. But the realities are that we've spent almost $7 to $8 trillion on the federal government in the last 2 fiscal years, plus another $5 trillion from the Federal Reserve. And then all of a sudden, when you start thinking about how much, you're like, oh, well, no wonder why there's inflation. No wonder why we've got these problems. And Gundlach is warning the Biden administration about going big with stimulus. Seems to be a recurring theme for the Biden administration. Right? That $3.5 trillion stimulus bill. We're running our country like we're not interested in maintaining our global reserve currency status. That's why you need to call. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back. 800-951-0592. And, think about the distortions out there. Yesterday, another great example. The bowling alley was out of French fries.
Oh, no.
What? Yeah, we're out of French fries.
I saw a video.
The week before.
I saw a video last night, Joe, in California. The guy was going through the Walmart frozen section, and all the potatoes were gone.
Well, I don't want to say it. I'm not saying it. I don't want to jinx it. But, yeah, there's problems. Lots of them. These are distortions. How are they here? How did they get created? They got created because of the policies of the central bank, and let's face it, and the elected officials. They're both guilty, but I view them as one and the same. So here is the U.S. Treasury bond king, Jeff Gundlach. Like, he is, when it comes to debt, he's the guy you talk to. Let me just tell you what he said last night. And he warned, and I know I've been making this comparison because I don't know what else to do. He says that, hey, this isn't going to be the 70s. We have the loosest monetary policy going back before we ended the gold standard. So he says this is the the loosest economic policy pretty much ever. We've never seen this magnitude of stimulus. It's never happened. Remember, it wasn't that long ago when everybody was on, Wall Street won't open tomorrow. And who was it? The Snow Job or Hank Paulson? I forget which one was the Treasury Secretary at the time. And he showed up with 2 pieces of paper and said, we need $700 billion immediately.
Normally, that would be a very difficult thing to do, but I don't think he sweated it too much.
No, well, but think about what I just said in the last segment. The Fed balance sheet's up $5 trillion.
That's right.
The national debt is up like $7 trillion. And we were talking about $700 billion. And Wall Street wasn't going to open without it. Remember. So when Gundlach says, we've never seen this magnitude, this is what he's talking about. Our labor market policy has been heavy-handed. Inventories are out of sync with history. And he's got these charts where, and I've been telling you, the back rooms are empty. There's no product in the warehouses. Look at oil today. There's no oil above ground. He says that one thing that's really going to cripple us is that he fully expects rents are going to go up, and they're going to go way up. Now remember, we've been pointing this housing number in the CPI as the big fake number. Gundlach says this is going to change. He says rents are going up very sharply in the months and quarters ahead. Now he puts a caveat. If and when we move out of the no eviction scenario, which right now people are starting to get evicted. He went and he says, if we use the actual inflation statistics for home prices, the CPI would be over 12%. Just one category. So think about it. They said 5.3 yesterday. Jeff Gundlach says, listen, it's 12, but don't worry because rents are coming. I don't think the history books will say inflation was transitory. The Federal Reserve is going to try to redefine the definition of transitory by saying, well, it's just going to be transitory, but it's just going to take longer. You know, they initially told us, Jason, it was only going to be a couple months.
Right. Well, Joe, and I think what they mean by transitory from the Fed is that there's going to be this extreme rise in inflation, and then it'll stop. It won't just keep on going. Well, you can say that about any inflationary process, you know.
You're right.
And it just stops.
That's a great point.
And then it just stops. And then hey, then we'll be back to our normal way of stealing from you. This will just be an extreme way of stealing from you. And Joe, the numbers you brought up, which is like the $700 billion that Paulson asked for, and we talk about trillions and trillions here and trillions there. For the audience to understand, just to help you understand, the national debt being almost $30 trillion. What matters is the taxable income that is taken from us to pay the interest on that. So when Paulson came out and said, look, to fix the 2008 disaster, we need $700 billion, that was money that needed to be grabbed immediately and actually used. You know, that's why $700 billion there is much worse than the $30 trillion, because the $30 trillion, that's just there for us to pay our wage slaves to the powers that be, Joe.
It's a great point. And I guess what Gundlach is saying is, hey, guess what?
Yep,
this transitory period is going to last a whole lot longer. He goes on, talks about gold. Gold looks cheap.
Yes, it does.
He says, he talked about the copper-gold ratio is saying that the 10-year Treasury makes no sense. Well, of course, we know that. Right? Nobody in the world, think about what he just said. Inflation, real inflation is 12%. If you want to buy, forget about a 10-year note. If you want to buy a 5-year note, we'll give you 1%. Who would make that deal? Nobody. He said that the copper-gold ratio is telling the message of the Fed and the Treasury manipulation. He says it's so bad, I bought European stocks for the first time in forever, he said. Earlier this year, he said, I had the highest conviction that the dollar would go down. He now says this, the dollar index, which is around 92, is going to all-time record lows below 70. All-time record lows coming for the dollar. I'm going to tell you, he put a time on it too, so that's coming up next, so I'm going to make you wait. When is that going to start happening? Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break.
How about February?
800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe Jake with Jason Walker, and we're talking about, I mean, really when you think about it, you don't even have to be that smart. They're fooling us with stimulus. And now they've created this horrible situation where everybody could have easily predicted this was going to happen. We didn't even talk about the increase of the money supply on top of all the spending. But now, Jeffrey Gundlach is saying, get ready, new all-time lows coming. But not this year. And I hate it. I always hate it when Jason is right. Because his way of getting there is a much scarier way than my way of getting there. But, yeah, starting in 2022, the dollar is going to be, as he calls it, on the path to losing what he calls it, its role as the sole reserve currency in the world. And obviously we know who that other person's going to be, right? It's going to be the Chinese. And he says, we just continue to seemingly run these policies. We run them more and more, and then we run them more and more aggressively. We're not pulling back on them in any way. And we're on a roadmap that clearly heads towards the dollar losing its sole reserve currency status, Jason.
And, Joe, it might not just be the yuan. Whatever concocted emergency is going to go along with this downward spiral of the dollar could be, hey, we're going to a cashless money system. And if they have a way of converting a yuan to a dollar to a yen to a euro seamlessly with your credit card, then it'll be a world reserve currency, digitally.
I think that's where I agree, absolutely. We're going to end up there.
And the only country that really loses in this scenario is America.
Well, we lose the most.
We lose the most, yes.
Because we are the sole reserve currency. And then we also lose the most because we got the biggest debt. It's going to have to get reset, period. It's not for debate. It's not optional. It's just what's going to happen. And how can you reset 40, 50, 60 trillion dollars? Because it's already 40. I mean, we're almost at 30. The Fed's at 9. I mean, we're already at 40 trillion.
Well, I think that what you were saying about property earlier, it has a lot to do with this, Joe, because I bought a house last year because when I saw coronavirus come, I was like, well, I better freeze my payment because I saw this coming. And there's a reason that companies like BlackRock are paying sometimes 50% more than the asking price. These are property investors. Property investors aren't really concerned about the price of the property. They're concerned about the return on the investment, which is the rents. So this is coming,
Boy,
Joe.
Doesn't that fit in really nicely with what Jeff Gundlach just said?
That's right.
9 million renters got to find a new place to rent. They got to start paying rents. I'll tell you, in Phoenix, it's crazy here. It is absolutely ridiculous what you have to pay to find a place. How about this one? I got to get this one in. So days after Walmart, right? Remember, Walmart announced, hey, listen, we're paying everyone $1 an hour more starting right now. Well, actually, in 10 days on the 25th. Amazon this morning says they're going to raise wages to $18 an hour. Amazon adopted, by the way, the second biggest private employer now in the country behind Walmart. In 2018, they went to $15 an hour. Now they want 18. Now they're effective immediately $18 an hour to go to work at Walmart, or I'm sorry, at Amazon, and that's 20% in 3 years.
Yep.
So you really get a feel for where this is really headed. And, we talked about online prices going up. This is going to make it worse, right? We talk about how, don't forget, the Biden administration, everyone on food stamps, here's another 25%, Jason.
That's right. Well, and I think there's a combination of factors as to how they can afford to do this. Obviously, inflation being one, but I wonder how many automated jobs are being created at the same time, Joe. I wonder how many people are being eliminated off their workforce because automation.
Don't kid yourself. Every job that can be automated is being automated at Amazon, at Walmart, everywhere. But again, 18's not enough. And I've told you this. Remember, what was it? It wasn't only, 4, 5, 6 years ago, they were trying to, Walmart or McDonald's, workers were trying to have a little protest for $15 an hour.
Right.
Well, guess what? They pay $15 an hour, and they can't get anyone to work.
See, Joe, if you came to me and said, I have another radio station and another gold company I need you to run. You're going to do 2 radio stations and 2 gold companies. I'm going to raise what I pay you by 1/6 by doubling my workload. That's why automation is so scary, because we'll take you from $15 to $18 an hour, but we just fired Ed over there, and you're going to take over his duties. That's
right.
That's what happens.
Yeah. That's the new productivity miracle.
Amazon's famous
by
for
the way,
it.
and all of you people out there working, and you know that you're short-staffed, what's happened?
It's getting worse or
I've got to work more.
Yeah, you got to
I've got to take on more responsibilities. I'm doing 3 people's jobs, and they threw me $1.
Yeah.
Yeah, great point. Patriot Radio News Hour. Final segment coming up. Got a special for you coming up next. 800-951-0592. Gold's down 10, $17.95. Silver's down 8 cents, $23.76. The Dow is up 80 right now. Yesterday, the Dow finished down 300. The NASDAQ is down. The S&P is up for right now. Today, U.S. $20 gold pieces. The 2,095 today, 2,075. Keep adding them. Listen, I follow this a lot. I follow Jeff Gundlach a lot. His research is the best. We talked about these 10-year dollar cycles, and we're always hitting, the lower highs and lower lows. And 2022 really is 10 years. And he says, listen, we're done here at the low 90s. The previous all-time low was almost 10 years ago at 72 and change. And now Jeff Gundlach said, listen, we're going below 70. How far below? I don't know. That's the part that worries me. Keep adding, though. And, again, we got about 4 or 5 months. And then he says it's going to start. And you can kind of see, right, the Fed is losing the argument, Jason, about inflation, aren't they?
Yeah, I think this just it's like telling a child something bad is going to happen. Let's just say the child has to go get, I don't know, something done, go to the doctor, and you just keep saying that things are okay all the way to the moment where you actually have to do the thing. That's what the Fed's doing. The Fed just wants to keep saying everything's fine.
They're just handing out the candy. They're handing out the candy to we're the children. We just keep taking the candy.
The dentist, the dentist. That's a good example.
Right next thing you know, you go to the dentist. You got a bunch of cavities. You go to the doctor. You got diabetes, right? And well, how did that happen?
Right. That's exactly it, Joe.
Well, I'll tell you how. And all Jeff Gundlach is doing is just step back for a second and understand what's really happening. We decided to use stimulus and pretend that everything was okay. And he so eloquently puts it, listen, that's not real GDP. It's not real GDP. Real GDP is at the end of the day, where does the money end up? And he just lays out, it ends up in Asia. That's where it ends up. Because guess what? That's where most of the stuff is made. and this is where we're headed. And we've decided to hell with economic policy, to hell with being, prudent, right, and understanding what's happening and fighting inflation and making sure we don't get ourselves into bigger trouble. Nope, we wanted to do the easy thing. Here's just some more candy. Just keep eating the candy. Don't worry. Nothing bad's going to happen. Oh, wait. Whoops.
Yeah, and Joe, I think
it's got a bunch of cavities.
I think it's a timing. I think they're timing something, and they know that they're throwing a bunch of money around. They know what's gonna happen. So I think this is a timing issue. I think there's a lot of pieces in place that we don't understand as a civilization, as a people, but they're timing this thing, Joe. And I think the extreme liquidity of giving people money is just pushing it down to just that right moment, which I think is sometime next year.
There you go. There you have it. 800-951-0592.